लाइव चैट में 37 लोग हैं।
ये अपने को इधर लाइव कमेंट्स नहीं दिख रहा।
दिख रहा है ना, ये 2 वाले ही आए, पर वो लैग के बाद आया। प्राइवेट चैट के बाजू में जो है वो दबा। ओके कूल, इट्स लाइव। Hey guys, I'm Parth, and I graduated in 2019 from the IT department, and I'm currently pursuing MSc at Georgia Tech with a specialization in machine learning.
Parth, I think just give them 5 minutes. Let
Okay.
everyone join. 5 minutes, just give them. Yeah, can you share the link?
Which link?
The YouTube link, so I can see how many are there. I think we will wait for 5 minutes. 10:05 we can start.
Yeah.
10:05 you can give your formal introduction and then we can begin.
Cool. But there is like a slight 5-second lag. So if you look at the YouTube feed.
That is cool. No problem. I think we will wait for 5 minutes. 10:05 we can start.
Yeah.
10:05 you can give your formal introduction and then.
Just mute that. But there is like a slight 5-second lag. So if you look. But is your headphone not working? Because I can
My
like hear
headphone?
the. Yeah.
No, it's working, right? Can you hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I could also hear the speaker from your laptop. So.
Oh, my previous. Oh, I mute that. Don't worry.
Oh, you have like a external laptop, external speaker.
Yeah, don't worry. I've mute that.
Okay, cool.
Hello, everyone.
I don't think we have a poll support in YouTube Live.
What do you mean?
Like conducting polls, like
Oh, yeah.
I think
I mean,
Eugene's has that.
we can just take an informal poll.
Just how many students are in third year and how many students are in second year.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Hello, everyone. I can see.
People are still joining.
Yeah, I can see start, bro. Yeah.
66 right now. Okay.
Yes, Dhruv Mehta, we're about to start. We are waiting for 2 more minutes. That's it. Hi, Aisha. What's up?
Hello.
Okay, Parth, I think we can start. Go ahead, Parth.
Cool. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, Parth.
Hey, I graduated in 2019 from the IT department, and I'm currently pursuing MSc at Georgia Tech with a specialization in machine learning.
Oh, it's my chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and I am Sarla Tumani. I am doing masters in computer science with specialization in data science from Stony Brook University. So yeah, that's about our formal introductions. I think Parth has a few points that we have set up for today. Parth, would you like to begin with those points?
Yeah. So basically, we'll go over some of our presentation, and then a lot of this time will be allocated for you guys to ask questions because I know a lot of you would have a lot of questions. So first of all, for the GRE prep, it takes about like 5 months approx. Like once you get started with it and then you get set up, so it should take a window of about five
Oh,
months.
wait, Parth. Before we begin, I'll just give you a rough outline of what Parth has prepared. I think so. He's prepared a few points on GRE that we're going to focus on first. Just hear all our points and keep your questions in the chat. If you do have any more questions later, you can ask. We'll be answering those questions later mostly. So there are a few points prepared on GRE. I believe Parth has also prepared a few points on the experience of masters and I think how exactly the education is done. These are the rough breakdown. I think first you can start with preparation of GRE. So yeah, it's I'll just type. I'll keep asking you questions if you want. If you want to keep adding on. So yeah, begin with how did you prepare for your GRE?
Right, right. So yeah, as I was saying, like about 5 months is the window that I feel is the right amount of time we should allot to GRE preparation, and a lot of practice is required. So one thing to keep in mind is if you face hard words, then keep making a word list and keep revising them because that really helps. Other than that, there is this 5LB book. I think a lot of you would know. I forgot the publisher, but it's 5LB something.
That's
And
the
there are
Manhattan ILB. Yes,
Manhattan 5LB, Manhattan 5LB.
yes.
And there are a couple of guides by I think Kaplan on individual how to target individual types of prompts. Like those two really help me. Like obviously, like 5LB provides a lot of practice. Try to finish that book, and it those most of those words repeat. So I think it is created with some inside knowledge. I'm not sure how they publish it, but it's a pretty good book. And other than that, I will share the link for those guides with Ria, and you can ask her for like those PDFs. And basically, after GRE, it takes like about a month of time to prep for the TOEFL. The only difficult part in TOEFL is speaking. The speaking task can be a little daunting. Other than that, everything else is pretty simple. So practice speaking as much as you can. Basically, like I had an app for iOS users to practice speaking, and I can give a link of that to Ria as well if you want. And like that's about like an overview of how to prepare for the GRE. If you have more questions, then ask after this. So once you get a good score, the second is obviously like, do you have to add anything to that, Saril?
Oh yeah, GRE. Yes, there are many things. First of all, and I believe there might be a few of you who have no clue what GRE is at all. So I think Parth, you can address that as well. So GRE basically is a 340, an exam on 340 marks, and I believe it hasn't changed now. And so 170 marks is given to something called as quantitative analysis, and 170 is given for verbal analysis. Um, so a good score is usually considered in the range of 325 plus to 340. That's considered a very good score. Most of your universities accept GRE if you are planning to come to the United States. Now, I believe there might be a few of you who might be planning to go to Canada or UK. Most universities there do accept GRE, but it's not mandatory per se. Yeah, so preparation, very good points by Parth. I believe you should be focusing on all the books that he mentioned. Clearly, it has worked for him. 333. So the name of the books, don't worry about them. If you want, we'll have ITSA post all the resource materials once all together. So for right now, just hear us out, and if there are any questions, keep posting that. Uh, and one thing even Parth mentioned, and I would like to stress very heavily, is the fact that GRE is all about being regular. I believe someone wrote what about Germany. I believe they those universities take GRE, but it's not mandatory. Understand the difference. So yeah, now, question might arise: how do I know if my university takes GRE or no as a score? Well, um, most of the times what you have to do, so here's where a lot of research comes into picture. To know whether a university takes GRE or not, I believe even Parth would have done this. You need to actually go to individual websites of every university or college that you're planning to apply for, and they always have this admission requirements that they've mentioned, and within that admission requirements they always mention if they want a GRE score or not, how much is the GRE score they do want. So you get a range of what exactly needs to be done. I think right now we were mostly focusing on the preparation part of GRE. So the books mentioned by Parth are really important, and being very regular about it is important. Uh, Parth, I believe you gave which year did you give your GRE in?
I gave it like in the summer before final year.
Okay,
So
so
like in
you gave it
July.
in the summer before final year. Oh, I believe someone has written, how do you select universities? We'll get back to that question. Yeah, the timeline I think is perfect. What Parth has given. So there are two cases here. Parth gave it in um, the vacation of summer, so he got a whole third year to prepare, or 5 months before third year to prepare, I believe. I gave it in my fourth year, the final semester around October. So I wouldn't recommend doing that timeline because I had to do a lot of crunch. I practically prepared in 3 months. Um, and you can see it is very important that you'll be very regular with this. Um, Apart from that, yeah, for the verbal analysis, words are very important, as Parth mentioned. One aspect that he also would agree was that you need to read a lot of things, read a lot of books, like get used to the habit of reading things. Me as a person, I used to never read books. I used to run away from books. Okay, like in terms of not just GRE books, but like novels and all of that. When you get the habit of reading books, that's when you can easily answer the questions of verbal analysis. There are questions where I believe there were huge paragraphs that you need to read, and then using those paragraphs, you need to answer a question. I think it's called reading comprehension. Am I right, Parth?
I think so.
Yeah, it's called RCs, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, reading comprehensions require you to actually be very patient and read all of those questions. Me as a person, I believe there might be a few people who never read books, just like me, never read books, but then you need to get the habit of reading things. So yeah, that answers how verbal goes. Words, yes, you need to remember words, but more important than remembering words, understand the context where they're used. Um, I believe there are a few core words, as past Path mentioned, that are repeated without even thinking. Those core words are the ones that you need to know, and then apart from that, you can understand the context of where other words are used. Um,
Um,
yeah, you'd like to add?
Yeah, so basically, Parth, he's asking like which word should you do and how many from Magush or Balance. So I didn't use any of the mobile apps to just practice words. That is because it's very important to learn those words in context. Now, I mean,
Context, yes.
learning from an app will help because you'll have that raw vocabulary beforehand before you practice. But I think it will save you time if you actually practice from the book and memorize those words at the same time. Like if you do those together, it will save a lot of time because then you are not just doing something boring as remembering words. You are learning words and you are practicing, so it goes hand in hand as to how your scores improve. So I would recommend that 5LB is the excellent source to learn new words. It has a lot of like it is called 5LB because it measures like 5 pounds the weight of the book, so you can imagine how much study material it has.
Yeah, that's a lot of lot of material, and yeah, it's actually a good book. It helps you out a lot. Don't worry about the books. We'll mention it to Ria, and then she can post it. You'll get the name of the books. Yeah, so that is part of verbal analysis. There's also a part called quantitative analysis. That is basically math that you did in your primary school. Okay, could you do three sides of a triangle equals 180? And three sides of three angles of a triangle is equal to 180. Can you do this kind of math? Okay, I believe most of us are Indian students out here, so you shouldn't have a problem for math. What is important in math is being regular in your practice,
Hmm.
because this is math that you know. It's just this is math that you need to practice over and over and over. uh, most of the people have asked us questions like, do you need to go classes for GRE? Uh, I mean, I had not taken classes. I'm not sure about Parth. Parth, have you had?
I had joined classes, but the thing is, the classes helped me because I didn't know what books to study from.
That makes
And my counselor gave me those guides, and those really helped. Like it pushed my points by like I think about like 5 to 10 points for my English section. Otherwise, I don't think I would have gotten a good score in English. And if you want like above 330, then you have to balance math and English because math usually everyone gets a good score, but English is a little difficult. At the
yeah,
same time, the English score is not as important to universities as the math score, but it always helps to have good score
yeah,
in
yeah.
both parts.
The weightage part, that's a very good question. Lot of you must have noticed that people focus most of their energy in the quantitative section, because most universities look at the quantitative section. There are a few universities that only look at the quantitative section. But as Path mentioned, why wouldn't you want to get good in both? Get good in both sections. You're safe. You're covering your bases everywhere. Getting good in quants is not that difficult. It's more of practice. And to some extent, even getting good in verbal is not that difficult. It's more of being regular and practice. So, yeah, that should be the guidelines for GRE prep. From our side, you can obviously ask questions later. We'll get back to this topic again.
Yeah, just
Uh,
one thing
yeah,
in math, don't underestimate it. At least like
all
create
right.
a formula sheet, make a formula book of sorts, and keep
Yes,
revising.
yes,
Because the most stupidest thing you can do is get in the exam and know that you could have solved the question only if you knew the formula. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
that's very stupid because many of the questions are substitution based
Okay.
and balancing things out from LHS to RHS. So
Yes,
keep that in mind.
yes, yes. Agreed. I completely agree with that. There shouldn't be such silly blunders. So, yeah. In depth, if anyone wants out the breakdown of the math section, we can do that later during the question answer session. We'll just finish off our prepared talk. I believe there's a question by Aniket. We will answer that question. The timeline, we will focus on that as well. First, we'll just finish off the prepared topics by Parth. Yeah, Parth, what's the next topic you've prepared?
Okay. So now once you get a score that you are okay with, usually like some people give 2 attempts, but I have seen people get into good colleges above 320 GRE score. So don't stress too much on that. The next part is how to choose universities. So I will stress on this. At least 5 universities need to be ambitious. Period. Don't underestimate yourself. Like I was going to do the stupidity. I wasn't going to apply at Georgia Tech. I was going to apply for Georgia Tech HCI, like not CS, because I thought I won't get in. And at the last minute I decided to like switch focus to CS, and that was a very good thing I did
Yeah,
because like see, when you choose a college, like Saral said, go to the university's website and read what they want. Your counselors will tell you that they will accept GRE, they will accept TOEFL, your scores are fine, and then you go to the website and you see that they expect 165 or 167 in math, and that's the straight up cutoff where your application will be moved, like will be rejected in the baseline only. So it's very important to see the program specifications, the duration of the program, is it STEM or is it not STEM, and what options they have, what courses they have. So I'm guessing most of you want to do MSCS or MIS. Both are good options, but the thing is, for CS, you have a lot of specializations to choose from. And it is not required to announce the specialization till you graduate, like at least at my college. I think it will be same at Stony Brook also, or you have a hard
no, no, no.
deadline.
You can obviously yeah. So this is very important point. Flexibility. U.S.
Yeah.
universities, it's a little different from the Indian education system. You get a lot of flexibility of changing your major, changing your minors, changing your specializations. So you get a lot of flexibility. Like even to the point, like you might go into as computer science. I have a few friends who went into computer science. Stony Brook has an amazing music program, so just switch to music. One of my good friend Omkar did that, and he just said he loved the flexibility that the U.S. universities provide. I believe even in Canadian universities and universities in UK, you have this flexibility of designing your own masters. Like you can do exactly what you want to do. You can pick the subject. There are a few restrictions. But there are always ways to get around it. You can talk to your advisor and you can get that done. There's a question about AWA. We will answer that at the end. Yeah, Parth, please continue.
Okay. So basically, what I was saying is when I applied to Georgia Tech, I applied with a MSCS specialization HCI. I came here, I didn't like the HCI coursework. So I switched to ML. And a lot of my friends did that. So the key point is my profile was very strong for a HCI application. And that's what I focused the most on. And the thing is, I never had to explicitly announce my specialization as HCI, MSCS, HCI anywhere once I got here. I could have literally sat like in the first orientation in the ML specialization and moved ahead from there. But what I did was that since I was interested in HCI, I took like 2 courses in HCI in my first semester just to understand um, how things are. And basically, it helps because the other advantage of these colleges is that you can go as wide as you want. So each like specialization has a core requirement and a elective requirement. So for ML, it is like 5 courses I need to take that are related to ML. But other than that, 5 other courses I can take literally anything. So anything in the sense that like there are restrictions. So most of them have to be CS courses. Maybe like 1 or 2 courses can be outside the CS department. So like Saral said, I could literally go and do a music course like history of jazz or something. But yeah, so that again comes to how you want to prepare your schedule, how heavy you want to make it, how light you want to make it. Those are like things that we need to talk about in future once people have their admits and once you're preparing to fly. But okay, and the other thing is write your SOPs on your own, please.
Could you first talk about how did you shortlist
Oh,
universities?
okay. So the shortlisting was based on US news rankings. First of all, like how the CS programs there were ranked. Secondly, obviously, how reputable the college was. Like in general, was it in a good locality? Like the coasts are usually more preferred. Like the East Coast and the West Coast are a little better than like the Central because a lot of colleges are there and a lot of industries. Like obviously, the West Coast has Silicon Valley, but the East Coast is also starting to boom now. So the coasts are where most of the good colleges are. But other than that, I made a sort of like yeah, top five, middle five, and last five. And then the ranking was like first 25 were in top colleges, in between were like midway, and below like 50 were lower colleges, like the less ambitious ones. So I made that mistake of not applying to more ambitious colleges or not applying to more CS programs in ambitious colleges. Please don't make that mistake. Um, Other than that, I wanted to say something else and I forgot. So let
Okay,
me
let's just
think about it.
complete
Yeah,
the university shortlisting topic.
yeah. 1 minute.
Yeah,
So
okay.
other thing is, USC is a college that has a good ranking, and its only criteria is like about 9 GPA. So you uh, can keep that in your mind if you want if you want like a good college that is safe to get in. But on the flip side, it accepts like 1,000 students, and out of this it has a batch of 700. So like I'm just like putting it out that that's one college that everyone kind of knows is a GPA centric college. Other colleges also care about GPA. So if you have a good GPA and if you are lacking in some other things, don't worry. So like one more point is people keep stressing that you need research. I had zero research papers. I had like one poster presentation that I had done, but I didn't have any research papers, and that didn't really affect the outcome because you're going for a master's program. You're not going for a PhD program. So don't be worried if you don't have research papers, because most of the people who publish research papers at undergrad level are pretty crap. Like honestly, if you see, some people uh, present at good conferences and like have good papers, but most of us have seen the quality of work that we produce. So don't be afraid to apply to good colleges even if you don't have research work. If you have good projects, if you have a strong SOP, if you can connect everything in form of a story. So that is very important. You need to tell a story of like why you did what you did, your resume, your work experiences, what your recommenders are talking about you. Everything needs to tie in through a story, which is your statement of purpose. And that is extremely important. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, agreed. Yeah, so shortlisting, is most of us, get stuck when it comes to shortlisting universities because one of the amazing resource as mentioned, Parth, was US News. But again, there might, if you actually Google I'm doing a biotech engineering program, and I just Google best biotech and engineering universities in the US, in the UK, you might come across many websites that'll give you different rankings for different colleges or different universities. So even what Parth did, and even I would have done that is which I have done is uh, do your own research. Okay, consider these rankings, find out from other sources, talk to some seniors who've already been there, and do your own research. Like, have your own metric. For example, everyone has a different preference why they're still selecting a particular university. Some people believe in doing the research that the university is doing. So I believe there's a website called cs.org that helps you that helps you tell the research going in computer science. um, I might be a person who cares more about the tuition fees. I do not want the tuition fees high, so for me the rankings will be completely different. So the best thing would be to get your own ranking sorted. How can that be possible is one of the amazing resources Parth mentioned. I believe there is Yockit as well. That's a website that helps you find out information about universities. We are not sponsored by Yockit. We would love to be sponsored by Yockit. Thank you, Yockit. Please give us money. But yeah, you have a lot of tuition fee loan. But yeah, so there are a lot of factors that you need to consider for making your own list of universities. Once your list of universities are done, one very important thing Parth mentioned was that don't underestimate yourself. Yes, completely true. Because most of the times we feel that maybe our profile is not good enough. Seeing previous profiles, we feel that maybe we shouldn't even apply to such universities. But that's complete crap. Believe in yourself. The profile is always seen in a holistic level. It's never just seen in numbers of GRE and GPA. You might would have done some cool projects, and then you would have done some cool projects. You would have done some cool research work. You would have done something that you're really passionate about. Your professors might give you good LORs. A lot of things that matter. Just don't jump into the wagon that, oh, I do not have this particular value, I should not apply. uh, this third thing that Part mentioned, yes, there are a few universities that only take metrics like the GPA metric or the quants in GRE metric. So there are a lot of universities that do that as well. But while you do your research, you will come across universities. You will know for a fact that okay, this university looks into this, or etc. etc. So this is also a good 1 month process, by the way. Don't think some people think selecting university is not that big of a deal, but that can be a make or break thing. One also thing that is important to calculate is what after getting that degree from that university, which a lot of us usually tend to neglect, is to see how are the placements. Yes, I mean, in US there is no concept of placement per se, but still you see where exactly your seniors are, where your alumni are, people who have done it from. You might ask question, hey Saral, hey Parth, I have no clue how to talk to seniors. I have no idea where can I find them. There's this website, amazing website called LinkedIn. Okay, everything is mentioned there. You just have to search your college name that you're interested in, and you can easily get where the seniors are, what are they doing, etc., etc. Okay, so that being said, selecting university should be a good, I believe, a month's process. It can overlap with other processes that are taking place, but do give it time. That's what I'd like to mention. Uh, After selecting universities, I think Path ventured into a bit of writing your SOP. But before telling about SOP, Path, could you tell us about all the things that are needed for a typical application? Like your SOPs, LOR. Just mention all those
Okay.
things and what is an SOP, what is an LOR, basics. Just yeah.
So basically, an application requires three things. So your resume, your statement of purpose, which is a essay, um, to talks about why you want to do MS in CS or MS in any program in their college. What is important, like what attracts you to that particular university. Third thing you need is basically your letter of recommendations. So it is usually recommended that if you are a new student, like you have just graduated, then most of your LOR should come from a professor, and they usually require three. letter of recommendations. Out of those three, at least two should be from a professor. One can be from an employer. And then you need your test scores. So GRE, TOEFL. Other than that, you can add your own, certificates or some other accomplishments, but they are optional. And unless it's something really great, don't start putting random basically certificates into the optional section. Don't do that.
Okay. Yeah.
And someone was talking about the GPA. I think aim for at least 8.5 plus. And I think that's a good benchmark, because if you're above 8.5, out of 4, it will convert to, I think, at least about 3.6. So that's like a safe GPA to aim for. And like, if your GPA is lower, don't be afraid. Try to make up for it in terms of your GRE score. And if your GPA is really low, then you can address that in your statement of purpose. If you know you had some major difficulty during your engineering or during a semester that push your GPA down, you can talk about it, and you can make up stuff. Like, people make up a lot of things in their SOPs, but just keep in mind that whatever you're making up, everything should connect with each other. Like, nobody is going to individually inspect your application, how truthful it is. But as long as it doesn't raise red flags, you should be fine. Just make everything believable. Like, obviously, in a resume, in a SOP, you are going to make things appear bigger than they are. Just be sensible when you do that.
Yeah, that's completely true. I agree. Yeah.
Does the post of professor matter?
Oh,
It might
just take
matter.
questions later. That'll
Yeah,
be good.
okay.
I just finish off your yeah.
Hmm.
So all the requirements I think Parth has mentioned. Uh, how do you write a particular SOP and how do you write your LORs? One thing Parth mentioned was really important, that write it on your own. That is very important. If right now, let's just give you overview of what these things are, because if there is a need, we can have another talk about SOPs and all. But yeah, this was more of the focus on GRE and other master related what do you say, opportunities. So yeah, we can talk about more SOP and LOR related in the question answer session. Apart from that, um, yeah. So do you want to start taking questions, or do you have a few more prepared topics, Parth?
So I just wanted to talk about, like, the visa process and like what to do once you get here or once you get an admit.
Yeah, just give a brief overview. That'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, now once you have an admit in hand, the next very important thing is getting a visa. And basically, like, be confident in your visa interview. For that, you definitely need a counselor. You need someone to prepare you. So even if you haven't taken a class for GRE, for TOEFL, do pay for a counselor to coach you for the visa preparation. Other than that, the thing is that you need to show a good amount in liquid assets. So like about like 50 lakhs in liquid assets. But the important thing is, your bank documents are not checked most of the time. It's usually on how you present yourself. So know your answers well. And you can borrow money from your relatives for a day, prepare the bank statement and return the amount back. It's just like on that day, on end of that day, you need to have that much liquid asset in your savings. um like, that is like an important point of, like, I would say, about the visa interview process, because they want to know that you can fund yourself. That's like a very important point of the whole visa interview process. So like, my interview lasted for like roughly 45 seconds. I was extremely scared, so I didn't talk a lot. But the important things that he wanted to know was how much money I had, would it cover my tuition fee, and what my parents did. So basically, your, like, the amount of money you are showing should kind of match with what you're like, should make sense. You can't show a asset of like 1 crore and be like, my father is like I don't know, it's not a businessman or some big post. That some people had their visas rejected because they showed legitimate salaries and income tax returns, and the salary was that high, and the amount of money that they had kept aside for their education was that much. But still, because the visa officer felt that this seems fishy, like the family can't have that amount of money set aside for education, the visa got rejected. So then that girl had to take another visa appointment, and then she went through. Like I think her father was like some very high managing director in Geo or some very high post and some like good position, but still the visa officer
Let's
didn't
not
believe. So it's
name the
all about
company.
what happened.
Yeah, let's not name the
Yeah.
company. So yeah, but
So yeah, so it's more about how you present yourself. That's like the visa interview part. Other than that, like other important thing is like most of you know that colleges have like tuition waivers. So the way you get those is by being a teaching assistant or a research assistant. The important thing is once you get an admit, start sending out cold emails. So maybe the professors won't reply because you don't have a .edu email ID or it's not like associated with that college. But start sending those emails out. Once you get an official email ID of your college, it happens. It sometimes happens before you get to the US also. Like maybe in March, April, May, before you go to the US. So once you have that ID, again email those professors. And the way you do it is you basically you talk a little bit about yourself. Um, Attach your resume to that email. Say like why the course, why you know about that course, have you learned about it, why you are a good candidate to be a teaching assistant for that course. Now being a research assistant is a little bit more tricky, and I'll talk about that at the end if you're interested. um, so the thing is, some colleges don't have a tuition waiver. So USC doesn't have a tuition waiver. CMU doesn't have a tuition waiver, as far as I know. Some colleges like Georgia Tech has a tuition waiver. I think like Stony Brook also has provides tuition waiver. Saril?
no, not really. I mean, I
Not
can talk about that later.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So basically, that also is something that is sometimes mentioned on the college's website. And if really like cost of education is a primary uh, factor in considering different colleges, like in the shortlisting phase, you can remove those colleges out because maybe they don't offer you tuition waiver. But at the same time, if the college is really good and it's not offering tuition waiver, I would say still keep it in your list because the name of the college does help. Even like yeah, I'll talk about the job searching later, like in 2 minutes. So like that's about the tuition waiver part. Start sending emails once you get your admits and try to reach there fast because obviously there are students who are on campus who you're competing with and who get preference, but still at the end a few like a few positions are still open and you can apply to those, and if you get them it's your luck. Like here people actually got a teaching assistantship in the first week of the fall semester because and they were all incoming students, so it can happen. The second thing is if you don't get like a tuition waiver, if you don't get a teaching assistantship or something like that, and if you want then you can work on campus. Like I worked as a web developer at one of our departments here in my first semester. I would not recommend it, but if you really feel like the expenses are a lot, then you can work on campus. It should be below 20 hours, but it pays a decent amount. Like it can offset your monthly expenses by about like $300, I feel. Yeah. So other than that, here everything like the job procedure is happens online. So you basically go to the website, you upload your resume, fill out a form, and that's how your internship applications are done. So first of all, start applying the day you land. Like you have to apply to a lot of college, a lot of jobs to like get the interview. I might have applied to like I don't know 50 companies, and I got interviews from like 5 or 6. So like the ratio is very bad. You need to check if the company obviously gives H1B visas, because sometimes if the H1B visas they give number is very less, then they will probably reject your application because they don't want international students. So like keep that in mind. Don't waste time on those companies if you know that they are not going to accept, like not going to even give you a chance. Secondly, what was I going to say? I forgot. Yeah, the thing is that all these companies require you to pass like an online assessment, and for that lead code is the platform. Like lead code is a similar platform to like hacker rank or there's one more I can't think of its name right now. So basically start practicing those coding
Lead
questions.
code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on lead code. Yeah, keep practicing them. It's free for the most part, and if you want you can take the premium account. It's like $35 a month. It's worth it. Like you get the solutions for those questions, you need to memorize them. You might have to memorize them because it's very difficult to come up with these things on your own in a 45-minute interview, and sometimes the questions can get really tricky and really hard. So keep practicing. Even if, like, you are done with your application procedure, you have your admits, and you have like 3 months where you don't know what to do, at least for 2 hours every day, do lead code practice, because that will go a long way. And like, the thing is, all of us get like a equal chance. You get the interview, but after getting the interview, if you can't solve those coding questions, then you are straight away out. Like, nothing you say in the interview matters if you can't solve the question, and it's a very sad thing to have happen. So keep that in mind. I think, yeah, I think those, yeah, those were about the things that I wanted to say. Now we can open up if you want to add to that, Saril, and then we can open up to questions.
No, I feel that's a good brief overview. We can start taking questions from now.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's open up to the question answer session. We will be answering your questions, so try putting your questions. I will. So there are a lot of questions that have been posted in the chat. I will try to answer them one by one. If I miss out your question, do post it again. Do not spam, but okay, we can
Mhm.
read once. Okay, so give us some time. I will start with the question posted by. Okay, so as far as top I can go, there is a question on. Um, did you guys join any classes? Just give me a second. I'll post. I'll give you the question part. Just give me a second.
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
Okay. The first question. There is Ayush Sharma. The question says, "What's the cost of living in USA plus fee per annum?" Uh, So I'll give you my experience, and then I think Parth can add later. First of all, it varies. That's the short answer. Okay, it is not the same everywhere, just like it's not the same everywhere in India. So the cost of living might be completely different in a place like, say, for example, uh, in Ohio, and the cost of living might be completely different in a place like LA or New York. Like, I stay in New York, I know for a fact that it is very expensive, but yeah, don't ask about it. Lot of so depending on the area, your cost of living comes into picture. The major components of a cost of living are your rent, your all utilities. You sometimes the utilities are included in the rent. Sometimes they're not. Utilities, as in electricity, water, internet. Oh yeah, now you have to start thinking in those sense. Like, you need to become an uncle in your head and start thinking of all of those things. But yeah, these are the things that are the major cost. Apart from that, it's and all the things that you eat, your groceries. So groceries is completely on you. Depends. You can eat at home and save a lot of money. You can go out and eat and spend a lot of money. That is something that is very variable. Cost of, yeah, that's cost of living in the US. And yeah, a fee. So we cannot comment on fee per se, because there are a lot of different fee structures in different universities. Mine is a state university, so the fees is a little lesser as compared to. I mean, there are three classes of universities out here. There's something called as state universities. There's something called as public universities and private universities. Private universities, as you can assume, are very expensive. The same structure is even in India. Like, state universities are cheaper, private universities are more expensive. How it can, the difference can make or break difference for a lot of people. But again, you need to see what exactly fits you. I believe Georgia Tech is a private or public.
No, it's public, so like
It's
it's a
public.
little
Okay.
cheaper.
Yeah, perfect. It's yeah, it's not as expensive as the Ivy Leagues, which you might think. Ivy Leagues are usually private, and so yeah, they're usually expensive. Uh, but again, as Parther mentioned, don't let that stop you from applying to places. You might never know. You might get some uh, financial aid or something like that. That might actually make it very easy to study in a private university. So yeah. Apart from you, would you like to add to that answer, Pat?
So basically, like a ballpark figure. I don't know how expensive New York is, but in Georgia, it's like about $1,000 for your monthly expenses, plus whatever you are spending on your tuition. That's like a one-time fee per semester. So, but you can assume, like, I think it'll be around 1,000 to $1,300, because usually people share their flats with four other people. So if it's a two-bedroom flat, or if it's a one-bedroom flat, then you share it with two people. So the rent gets divided into two. Then the groceries can be around like $300, I think, and electricity $50 to $60, and internet $50 to $60, and 50 to 60 for your like water and other utilities. So yeah, like Saral said, like now like we literally see the monthly water bill going up, and then realizing that we need to reduce the water consumption. So like
Welcome to the uncle auntie life.
yeah, so the
So,
things that your parents shout you about, those are very real concerns.
बिजली का bill कौन भरेगा? Now you'll
Yeah,
start thinking in those sense.
yeah.
Yeah, it hits. At least in New York, it hits a lot. So you cannot just keep your light on, your fan on, and be very irresponsible about that. But yeah, you learn a lot of things. That's good. Yeah, the next question is: did you guys join any classes for your prep? If yes, which one? Parth, this is question directed to you. I have
Yeah.
not joined any classes. Did everything on my own. So yeah.
So there is this class called Go Genius in Bandra that I had joined. I can share the contact details with Ria, and she can give those to you. So what happened
Do
is
you get
basically
referral link paid? Do they pay you?
no.
Start
Uh,
asking for payment. You can get a lot of help. So yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what happened is in between my application procedure, they were under this brand called Global Opportunities, which is a pretty big chain of classes, and they branched out and created their own class, Go Genius. So basically, those people like those two are pretty good at help. They help me with the LR writing part, because that obviously I can't write on my own. I shouldn't write on my own technically. You can, but it's just a risk. So because your writing styles might overlap, and the like the committee admissions committee might find something fishy with that. So basically, like that's the class that I had joined. Basically, keep in mind that you have to go there multiple times throughout your application procedure, so it should be easily accessible to you. You shouldn't have to spend like 3 hours to reach the counselor, because that will be a massive waste of time. And other than that, talk to the students who went there before you. Ask them for a general experience, because sometimes when the brand name gets bigger, the service goes down. Like there's this there's one of, I don't know, I don't remember the name, in Andhra there's a very big,
Try
like
not
whatever,
to.
yeah, very big naming, like very big coaching class, but they're not, like I heard that the service is not that good because they have become too big for their name, and you may not get the same amount of attention. So like keep all those factors in mind. Maybe a local counselor would be good for you if they have a limited clientele.
Yeah, that makes sense. I did completely everything on my own, so you can manage. That's not a big problem. But as Parth said, not everyone might be as independent, so you might need someone to help you, guide you through the process. And yeah, it helps you in other factors also, like support and all also. So yeah, these are the two aspects. What about Germany? Shivani asked. So I have information about Germany as I was doing research, but this is a very big question. What about Germany? So this is posted by Shivani. I would love if you could specify your question and then I could answer. If you're asking, is there education option? Of course, you can study in Germany. You can do whatever you want. But I would just appreciate if you could be more specific with your question. Next question by Yash is how to select universities. I believe I believe we went over that
Yeah.
bit briefly, but I think it would be better if you tell us your personal experience, Parth. We can give a better answer that way. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so basically, my application process was a little bit fragmented. So I had applied for HCI and natural language processing based on what the college offered. So I had literally created two different SOPs, because the thing, like I said, is you need to target what the, you need to first of all see what the college offers. Then you have to see how your profile aligns to it, and then you have to write your essay. So in some of the colleges that didn't have a HCI specialization available, but they had an NLP specialization, and my profile was kind of aligning with it. So I went ahead and applied for NLP, and NLP kind of comes under the bigger picture of human computer interaction. So it's not like a far fetch, but it was like a different way to approach the same essay writing procedure. So basically, like there is one more thing in choosing the university. So universities can have like a thesis based option and a non thesis option. So Georgia Tech has like you is the same application for all three. So they have like a thesis, non-thesis, and a project-based option. Whereas UC Irvine, which is one of the University of California, it comes under that, has a MCF program, which is not a thesis-based program, and then they have a MSCS program, which is a thesis-based program. So the cutoffs for the two different programs are different. MSCS is more competitive, MCS is lesser competitive. I think even NCSU, North Carolina State University, has two different programs, MRCS, and there is one more. So MRCS is their sort of like a professional program that is not thesis oriented, whereas the other one is thesis oriented. So a lot of programs that I applied to were non-thesis. Uh, I tried to focus less on research and more on practical applications of the degree to my career, because that made more sense to me, because I didn't have a research oriented profile. If you have a research oriented profile, then you can look at some of the more research oriented colleges and I mean programs, and you can upload your research papers in the application like portal.
Yeah, that makes sense. For me, selecting universities was I had actually formed a metric of what exactly is important to me in a university. Um, so I was looking more into my field of research is quantum machine learning. So I was essentially looking into universities where they have not only a good CS program but also a good physics program. So I had a completely different metric. As Parth mentioned, the first thing should be your course. See what course you want to do. Don't go first after the name. First, see what the course you want to do. Then, of course, you can shortlist the names that you like. Then add up the other factors like what are the opportunities after you get into that university. Then what are the opportunities during the university? Like, do you get financial aid? Do you get TA? Do you get RA? Okay. And finally, what's the overall cost that's going to hit you? These are the general guidelines for all courses, apart not just computer science. That is how you should start thinking. And Apart mentioned very well about computer science as well. What can you do? Okay, I'll take up the next question. How to select universities is done. Um, oh yeah, the next question. What is preferable, going abroad immediately after graduation or going after 2 years of job? Ah,
Mm.
um, so both of us have gone directly after our graduation. Again, I believe we both have completely different reasons for that. We'll mention our reasons. The pros and cons, from what I feel, are not that different because people who've come immediately have also got amazing. So the myth is that people who have 2 years of work experience come here and after their masters get a job very quickly. Okay, because they do already have an experience, but that's kind of a myth because yeah, it does help you a bit, but that has not stopped at least me or I believe even Path from getting a job. Like you can easily get a job even if you've just come directly. uh, it doesn't matter that much. uh, for me, the reason to go directly after graduation is because so if you are planning to do some research, it is preferable you just directly start off after your graduation because you can focus more on and devote more time to your research. If you are I don't know what's the reason you directly went path. What was the reason for you?
So basically, I didn't want to waste 2 years here. But at the same side, on the flip side, companies that are like in the top four usually prefer your profile if you have like if you are in their area. So for example, one of my friends was working in Microsoft for 2 years and then she went there and now she's working in Google. So the thing is, if you're getting some really good opportunity in a name company here, then I think it will be worth exploring that opportunity, maybe working here there for 2 years. Because the thing is, the kind of weight that a name like Microsoft or Google or Nvidia puts on your resume is amazing. Like I've seen people sail through and get a lot of interviews just on that one undergraduate like work experience that they had. But at the same time, if it's not something mind blowing, then I would say just come here and like go through the process here, because anyway you have to do it at some place. Either it's in the US or it's in India. So the benefit of doing it in the US is you are spending more time in this system and getting used to the environment here, and that might help you in the long term, is because all your work practices or your mindset is being established in the country where you plan to work for. I think like at least 3 years, based on most of people will attempt for STEM programs, and then you will be working here for at least 3 years on the OPT extension. So I think if it's not, and don't think about the salary that you will be getting from the job in India, because I know like uh, I know that you will feel that I'll save my money and I'll fund myself. But I feel it's smarter if you can't directly fund yourself, that to take a loan and come here, because you are going to make that money make that money back really quickly. So you can pay off your like tuition debts in a year or year and a half, but delaying it is not going to make a lot of sense to you also, because once you start working, I've seen a couple of my friends being deterred from doing a MS, and they are like, now I don't want to do MS. I'm happy working. So if you really want to do a master's, and if the opportunity in India is not as great, or there is no opportunity in India, like you are just thinking about MS, then do it. It's not a bad idea at all to come directly after your undergrad.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. If yeah, that answers that question. Um, Approx, how many words we should do? Magoosh words or barons?
I
How
think I
many
think we
words
answered that.
do you answer? Okay, do you answer that? Okay.
Like yeah, I mentioned like I did from the 5LB instead of actually doing it from an app.
Okay. I didn't do any words per se. I'd have no count of doing words. I had done this book called 30 Day Vocabulary. I'll give you the name of the book, 30 Day Vocabulary. Essentially, you read one page every day and it is increases your vocabulary. I did that. I did vocabulary for myself. I didn't do it for GRE. Stupid move, but okay. I think it's what helped me. How is Nova for maths? Um, I believe the question is how is Nova as a publication for quantitative analysis? I have not come across Nova book. Parth, have you come across?
I've heard of Nova, but I've seen Nova for English, and I didn't like it a lot. But
Okay.
again, if it's giving you practice, then
Yeah, it's completely on
why
practice.
it's
Math,
working from
yeah,
you.
math is all about practice. So don't worry about the book. It won't be grossly wrong. Just that math is all about practice. Be regular with your math. That's all. What's the right time to What's the right time to go abroad? Just after 8th sem or after getting experience? We answered that question. Um, what to do for math after 5LB? First of all, congratulations for completing 5LB. Okay. Uh,
Now
uh,
you have to do Irodov.
now now what you can do is start doing it all over again. Nah, I'm just kidding. Try to get more material out. If you have other material, practice that. But if you have, I believe if you have actually completed 5LB, then itself is a good feat. I don't think you will need more practice. Just be regular with it. That's all. Phrase your
One.
material in a way that it comes out to the 5 month stretch as Parth mentioned. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Don't finish everything way early and then forget it before the exam.
yeah. Just stretch
Other
it
other
out regularly. Hmm.
Another important point is the exam is going to be long, like it's like 4 to 5 hours. So another thing that I forgot to mention before is try to practice in the time slot for which you have like booked. So my time slot was from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and I used to give my tests during that time slot just to make my body kind of aware of the time slot, how I'm going to pace myself through it, if I get hungry during that time, if anything else affects my performance during that time. Because basically, it's a very foreign situation that you will be placed in, because we have never given exams like that like any time in our life. Like you will be properly checked, then you will be made to sit at a desk. It's a very tiny desk, and then like there is a monitor, the CPU, the keyboard, everything is right in front of you, and you have to basically work in this foreign environment and not get distracted. There are like at least five cameras above your head. Like it's a very different environment, and you have to stay focused, not be nervous throughout those 5 hours. So so practice on how you're going to pace yourself through that exam. There will be a 15-minute break in between. I think it's 15 or 20. I'm not very sure, but there is a break in between two sections for TOEFL, and there is a break after, like, I don't know when is the break for GRE. I don't remember, but
I
there is a
believe,
break.
yeah, there are two breaks. Yeah,
There are two breaks in
yeah,
GRE.
there are two breaks for GM.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
just check up on the breaks because and that's public knowledge. You can find out about.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good point mentioned by Parth. GRE is also a test of can you actually sit for GRE. Like you need to actually sit all those 3 hours, 4 hours without losing your concentration. Happens to best of us. Personally, also by the end of the exam, I was completely drained. So pacing yourself for the exam is a really important point, as mentioned by Parth. So yeah, and yeah, keep regularly doing practice exams. So that will also help you gauge your progress. How much have you progressed over the course of your practice? Say for example, every 2 weeks, give one practice exam. So you have some idea of okay, am I my progress is going on the right track? Am I losing track? Am I not going in the same? So yeah, that'll be important. I'll read up the next question. Okay, what about AWA? Um okay, AWA.
Mm.
Very
Well,
good.
that's Saral's house.
Yeah, we all have gone through like we didn't go over AWA as much, but AWA is very important part of GRE. So apart from your 340, you have 6 marks worth of essay that you need to write. Purpose of this essay, you'll be like, why do I need an essay if I'm doing computer science or biotech engineering or whatever? Purpose of an essay for a university is very important because most of your when you come here, you will write a lot of research paper. You will write a lot of research. You'll write a lot of paper presentations, so they need to know, do you have the writing skills? Are you equipped for the writing skills? So AWA tries to gauge that. It's a metric of 6. Any score above 3.5 is acceptable. Score above 4 is considered very good. Yeah, it's on the steps of point 0.5. Is it easy to get a good score? Yeah, I believe it's very easy. You just have to be. There are a few ways how to get that score. And again, keep preparing for it regularly, and you can get a good score. Path, how did you prepare for AWA?
So there is this. Oh my God, there are a lot of books that I'm going to recommend to you guys. Please, if you have time, then go through them. Like don't just ignore what I'm saying. So I'll again give the name of the book to Ria because I don't remember it right now. So I used to read essays from it. The two types of essays are: one, it's a argument based essay where you are trying to discredit something. So you read a story and then you have to state why the story is factually flawed and why the conclusions drawn in it are incorrect, and you have to address those flaws. So most of the time they are based on incomplete arguments, and you have to find those holes and attack them. And it's a very standard practice. So anything that is slightly unjustifiable conclusion can be attacked. Don't be shy, like, why will I say like this is false? Maybe they know their things. If it is not crystal clear from their the passage that it is a direct conclusion and that it is factually valid conclusion, then you can attack it. So that's the argument type essay. The second essay uh, is like a more open-ended prompt that you have to basically give your opinions or something. I think it is argument, and what is the other thing called? I don't remember the
I
name.
think one is where you find flaws of an argument, and one is where you support an argument. I believe that
Yeah,
is.
but like there are like two names for it. I don't remember
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
but
There are two names for it. There are two. You will be giving two essays essentially. Each essay is, I believe, one is 30 minutes, one is 25 minutes. If that's
yeah, one is shorter.
yeah, one is 30 minutes, one is 25 minutes. Uh, Again, you need to plan out your essay. I had a simple guide for my essay. Uh, I did not start writing off the get go. First 5 minutes, I used to just jot down the points that I need, and then I used to write down. And there's this technique that I used to follow. I believe it's there everywhere. So the technique was introduction, conclusion. So that's your first and last paragraph. In between, there you add 3 paragraphs of 3 arguments. That is what everyone else will teach you. I used to add 4 arguments. That's completely your choice. But yeah, 3 arguments, introduction, conclusion. That should help you out in all kinds of essay. Yeah, you might say you're a great writer, but I'd still say read up on a few sample ones and try practicing a few ones. Just because you're a great writer doesn't mean you'll be able to. This is a completely different ball game. That's
Yeah,
all I'll say. Yeah.
it's a very formulaic process. Like they have certain criteria that you need to match. There is a rubric that you have to follow. So get used to it. The argument task is relatively easy because it's very scientific style writing where you know that there are flaws and you have to address them. And we are good at writing logically. Most of us are not that good at writing from our heart, like open-ended prompts. And that's what what Saral said is very important. So the thing is, the essays don't have to be perfect. You're allowed to make spelling mistakes. You can have maybe a missed punctuation because they know that you're writing it in a hurry. But make sure that the essay flows well. My prompt was, I don't remember what it was, but it was related to some dictatorship or something like that. And I just went out on a roll. Like I wrote a lot, but it was not very consistent. It didn't have a flow. I was messing my ideas left, right, and center. So and that happens because sometimes what happens is you are writing your essay and then you realize that, oh shit, I need more content, and then on the spot you come up with a point and try to mix it into your
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
developing idea,
Makes
and
sense.
that throws people off when they read. Like this is something that I didn't know and didn't think would happen, because what you're writing is very obvious to you what you mean. But when a third person reads it, it becomes very difficult for them to understand what you're saying. So like read a lot of sample essays, because obviously you're not going to come up with ideas on the spot, and then really try to come up with at least 4 points, a conclusion and a ending. So like 5 lines that kind of summarizes your open-ended prompt. It is very important. Please practice that if you want like a really good score. But on the flip side, even the way I rambled, I didn't get a very bad score. I think I had like 3.5 or something. So it's not that difficult. They're
Yeah,
not
maybe
judging you as
3.5,
harshly.
yeah, 3.5 is a very good score. Like, I mean, 3.5 is the score that you need.
Yeah.
That's all that I'll say. Above 4 is considered good. Again, no one asks you what was your score in AWA. I got a 5 on 6, but it's just for bragging. That's it. I have never used it ever anywhere. No one has been like, "Oh, what's your AWA score?" No, it's just
Where
yeah. I'm telling you, no one actually ever asked me for my AWA score. It was just bragging right.
Yeah, no, no. I'm saying like where it helps is your
Yeah.
AWS score kind of ties in with the SOP that you're writing. You can't have a very horrible AWS score and then write a world class SOP. That again will raise a red flag. It's
Um,
usually used as a balancing mechanism.
Yes, yes, I completely agree with that. Yeah, if you want any of my sample essays from my practices, I can forward it to you guys. You
Yeah,
can see
yes.
the format that I follow.
Cyril
Uh,
is extremely good at
no,
writing
you just
and
have
talking.
to know the format. That's it. If you know the format, you can do well. Don't worry about it. Then the next question is specifically for Parth. How much did you get in engineering? Your choice,
Uh,
your answer.
no, I don't mind. Like I had a 9.26, but again, like I said, you like aim for like about 8.5.
Yeah,
Don't worry too much about it, because
yeah,
most of the time the pointers are viewed in proportion to other people, and also like in a out of 4 evaluations criteria. And if you have anything else that contributes more to your application packet, then the pointer is not going to be looked at as harshly. So
yeah,
like you don't have to like go for above 9. It's perfectly okay if you are below 9, if you have like 8.3, 8.4, 8.5,
yeah,
because now below 8 it might be a little bit of an issue and you will have to like really prove your worth in other things. But I think if you're above 8, and like 8.5 like should be a good target.
yeah,
And yeah, I know it's a little difficult in our colleges to get it. It's a problem, but I mean, if you have really bad scores, then try to address that in at least like a few lines of your SOP, or address it in one of your LORs. That can be an idea that you can use.
yeah,
Another excellent, like I just thought of this, my friend told me another excellent LOR line that he used is basically that faculty had a previous student in the same college. And in the LOR, he actually wrote that this guy is equally good as the other guy that is already admitted, something along those lines. It,
okay,
like that's a excellent way to say, because then
sure.
you're connecting it directly to that college. You
Hmm.
already they know the person who is studying there, and then it kind of ties yourself to that college pretty well. Now I'll ask him for the exact sentence. It sounds really good. Like the way I said it right now didn't really make it sound that nice, but like yeah, these are some ideas. Look these ideas up online also, like how to write LORs, good LORs, and then try to insert those ideas into your LORs also. That way, it's yeah, it's a holistic review process. Your pointer is not the only thing that they are worried about at all. You have to present like a strong foot. Like together everything needs to make a good sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's true. A lot of you would have mentioned or thought that okay, I do not have, as Pat mentioned, 8.5 plus is the safe zone. Anything above that is amazing and great. Between 8 and 8.5 is a little dicey. So, what if I get an GPA less than 8? Does that mean that your plans for masters are over? No, that is not true at all. What if I have a KT in my first sem, but I have a really good pointer now? Are my plans for masters over? No, that is also not true. You need to understand that they try to see you as a holistic person rather than just a particular number. GPA is a very good measure to find out who you are as a person, but they do not just completely rely on that. There are a few universities that do, but not everyone. So even if your GPA is less than 8, say for example it is around 5 or it's around 7 or 7.7, whatever, you can get into good colleges as well. Okay, you just need to strategize how exactly you're going to do your applications, focus on your GRE, and try to balance out other metrics as well. I have a few friends. I believe we have common friends as well that have not so good GPA, but are actually in quite amazing colleges. So, in quite amazing universities. So, don't worry about your GPA if it's. I mean, at this point, you can't do much about it. Try to improve it as much as you can. But if you've say passed out and you can't do much about your GPA, then it's okay, no problem. Focus on other aspects of your application. Do what is in your hand.
and the other thing is basically the GPA is like some colleges are very GPA centric. So USC requires above 9. So when you're shortlisting, just remove those colleges out of your purview.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes.
Unless you have like a very legitimate reason why your GPA is low, or you can come up with a very legitimate reason.
Oh yeah. There you can, any you can you do. I mean, that's your safe bet. If you don't, you come up with a reason. But
So
yeah,
maybe you face some sort of depression, or maybe some your dog died. I don't know. Anything works. Like these people love the emotional touch. So if you can come up with it and make it sound very genuine, then the admissions committee will listen to you.
yeah,
Just
I
be
mean,
smart.
I agree with that. So, but just keep it as your last resort. That
Yeah, keep it as your last resort
don't
because there
rely
are
on
people to lie.
yeah, don't rely on something like that. So yeah, the next question is by Samave Gupta. I'm sorry if I read your name wrong. Will work experience matter for getting admissions in good universities? Wait, you're applying for masters, right? You're not applying for job. So work experience shouldn't affect that much. It does to a very little extent. So don't worry about that. At least for the application for universities phase. Okay.
See, it
Then
is just a story. If your work experience really flows well into your like engineering background, then it will help you. But it's a very risky situation to be in because once you enter a company, you are not going to do the same things that you were doing in your undergrad and those that you are good at. You could literally be thrown into any corner of the company and made to do anything that is not even remotely related to what you were studying or what your profile was going towards in the 4 years of engineering. And then it becomes very difficult to connect your work experience with your 4 year engineering background. So like see, like that's a risk that you have to be prepared to take. But at the same time, if the company is really good, then it won't matter because the company's name will outweigh your connection to that company, if you know what I mean.
okay, yeah, that's a good point. What is a safe GPA? Quantum, amazing name. We mentioned that anything above 8 is good. Anything above 8.5 is a very safe GPA. Again, we are mentioning the Mumbai University Sardar Patel format. We can speak for Mumbai University for a fact that 8.5 plus is amazing. There are a few universities that have a very good name, so the GPA scale can be scaled down a bit there. But yeah, this is at least specific to Mumbai University. If you have any other university in head, you can just post in the questions. We'll give you a rough range. The next question is, did doing MUNs help you out in your profile, Saral? Not really. I didn't even mention it. I'll be honest. I didn't even mention it. I'm going for a master's in computer science. I don't think they need to know about this. Of course, you can. It's a very good thing that you mention your extracurriculars, but it's the co-curriculars that matters more. And I had a lot
Hmm.
of co-curriculars to mention, so I didn't waste time on mentioning all of that. You pick out what you pick out your battles. You pick out what you would like to show to the admission committee. Uh,
And the other thing is, even if he didn't put that in his resume, he could have talked about it in his SOP. Or,
yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, you can talk about it anywhere, or one of the professors can mention it in the LOR.
yeah,
So
you
there
can
is a huge
obviously yeah mention
range.
it as a passerby line in any of your LORs or SOPs, but yeah, I mean, I didn't feel like mentioning it, so yeah. How much GPA should we aim to get into a good university? We've answered that. What Try to get a good GPA. If you still have a few semesters left, work on it. Try to get a good GPA, no problem. Even if you have a little up down GPA, it's not a big problem. What's the situation of students who financed their tuition fees? I believe you're trying to say people who are financing on their own and have not got any help. So, what are the situation for your peers, Path, who have financed
Uh,
education on their own?
so basically, they have taken education loan, and for 2 semesters. like yeah, it's again a very college specific thing. So Georgia Tech has tuition waivers, and most students get it. But if they hadn't gotten it and assume that like here the program is usually for 3 semesters, so assume that you have like a debt of $50,000. Now the salary usually for a software developer is around 100,000, and if you live frugally for 2 years, suppose 40,000 out of that went for taxes, and you spend like 20, 30,000 every year. I think that's a bit of an overestimate, but assume you spend 30,000. Still, you will have 30,000 money that is remaining, which can be used to pay off your student debts. So usually people pay off their student debts in 2 years' time, and most of the loan providers, education loan providers, don't have an issue with you repaying the loan faster,
Yeah,
because I think in other forms of loan it's an issue if you pay it back faster.
yeah.
So in education loan, it's not an issue.
It's called a prepayment, but in education they appreciate if you pay your loan before time. Not a big problem. And as Pat said, loan should not be that big of an issue. It you can easily get through with that once you get a job. Don't worry about financial problems right now. Yeah, does post of professor matter like LOR from HOD? If you personally ask me, your interaction with the professor matters the most. Because oh wait, can you do that? I didn't know that you
Yeah,
could.
that's pretty interesting.
That's
How do you
great.
do that?
We'll get back to that question. But yeah, post of your LOR, does it matter? The professor is not applying; you are applying, so it doesn't matter at all. But your interaction with the professor matters the most. Uh, Most of the US universities know that there are a lot of HODs who've done doctorate positions in India. But how did you interact with that professor? What was your interaction? What projects did you do? That's what matters more. Yeah. I'll take up the next question. How important oh, that's great. Okay, that's coming up. How important are internships? Um, it is everything. Very important. Parth, would you like to add how important are internships? I believe this is internships during masters. We'll try
Mm,
to answer both. Internships during masters. How important are they?
very important, because the thing is, I'll tell you how it works. Right now, the internship interviews, you have like 1 or 2 interviews, and they are a little easier. If you are applying for full time, you have 7 interviews, and they are insanely hard. So if you have an internship right now in summer for 3 months, you can basically try and convert it to a full time position, which is a lot easier. Now, I'm not saying that all companies have a 7 interview round, but if you want to get into like the top four, like Google, Apple, Facebook, they all have Amazon. They have 7 round process, and it's pretty daunting. So getting an internship is pretty helpful um, during your like masters.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. During a master's, having an internship is very important. Again, it's not a deal breaker. Everything has a caveat. It's not a deal breaker. It's preferred. That's what I think even Parth mentioned. I have a friend who didn't go for an internship and is currently working for Oracle. So I don't think it's a complete necessity, but yeah, it is preferred.
Yeah.
Yeah, next question, I believe is okay. Before we get to this question, I believe there was a question by Ria. Could you suggest counselors? Um,
Mm,
I do not suggest any counselors. I believe you can do it on your own. Parth,
yeah, so
what's
like
the
Go
counselor?
Genius is
Yeah,
the counselor that I went to. I'll
yeah,
share the contact details.
sure. That'll be great. Yeah. Yeah, the next question by Janil that was on the yeah. The
What is the
question is
requirement for getting into Ivy League universities? Same,
yeah,
same.
it's pretty much the same. Like I have friends in electronics department that have admissions from Cornell, admissions from even big universities. Even and so the Ivy, the only difference is that they play football. That is called the Ivy League. That's the only difference. They're a normal private university that play their own football. So if you're and oh, this is not our football. Before you get confused, this is the American football. So yeah, if you're interested in American football, go for the Ivy Leagues. Yeah,
And the thing is, a lot of Ivy Leagues are not as good as some other colleges for the same program. So again, go by the ranking and go by the coursework that they offer. Like Colum, anyway, like one college has like CS program is, I didn't like it at all, because the range of courses offered was extremely small. Like, I mean, it was very restricted, which is what I didn't like about the college, and it was a Ivy. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, various caveats. That's all that
I
we
mean,
can.
don't go for the name.
Yeah,
You'll be better off in a non-Ivy school rather than Ivy school. You'll save money and you'll learn more.
and the next question by Quantum, great name again. Are there scholarships available, and how much percentage reasonable, and what are the factors? Parth mentioned GA Tech, Georgia Tech does have scholarships. Again, depends university to university. Different types of scholarships. Some people get financial aid, straight up financial aids, straight up financial aid. I'm so sorry. Some people get in form of TA, RA, GA. What is TA, RA, GA? Teaching assistant, research assistant, graduate assistant. That means you essentially have to do some work that will help you for your tuition fee. How much percentage is it? You can expect between 50% to 100%. You can get whatever percentage. Completely depends on your post. There are a lot of factors. You cannot just generalize.
It, it's a very targeted approach. Like you have to brute force your way if you want some sort of tuition waiver.
Yeah.
So keep emailing the professors, ask them, be polite, present your best foot forward. Like keep trying.
What are the factors? The factors are simple. Before we get to the next question, I'm so sorry. What are the factors? The factors to get a scholarship is, I
So what are the
believe,
factors?
your.
Okay.
What are the factors for getting a scholarship? Are I believe your interaction with the professor that you're planning to get a scholarship with. That is one thing very important, and your previous work that ties up to the position that you're applying for. That's what I feel. Yeah. Would you like to take the next question, Parth?
Did you guys write different SOPs for every different? Oh, yeah. So, like I said, I wrote two different sets of SOPs, one for NLP and one for HCI. But the thing is, the starting of the story and the ending of the story was usually kept pretty constant. So, like Saral says, like the beginning and the conclusion, usually keep it fixed. The in between content is going to differ because it's university specific. Talk about the different courses that you would like to take at the university. Maybe talk about a professor and his lab, the work that they did there. Maybe talk about if the college has something exceptional, like Northeastern University is known for its co-op programs. So maybe mention that something that the college is famous for. It basically shows that you have really read about the college, that you're really interested in the college. Maybe mention the geographical location of the college. That's like a good point to talk about if it makes sense. So obviously, if your college is on the west coast and it's close to Silicon Valley, then it would be stupid not to mention. But yeah, so these are some of the factors. And yes, SOP is different for each college. And please write it yourself. Don't rely on a counselor who is not going to give you as much importance as opposed to you writing it yourself, because obviously you're going to spend more effort on it because the counselor has more students to cater to. Get it checked from them. Maybe you can ask us if like we can give it a read through, but write it on your own.
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree with that. I actually followed a very different approach. I wrote fresh SOPs for every college. It completely depends on how much time you have. Not everyone has the luxury of time. So you can, of course, and if your core points are always going to remain the same, you do not have to write new SOPs for every college. I did it for the reason that I wanted to completely tailor my SOP for every college. Again, completely your choice. That's yeah. Write your SOPs on your own, get it reviewed. You can get reviews by us also, your other seniors. So yeah, that'll be good. The next question: how will COVID-19? There's no 19. Sorry, how will COVID affect 2021 fall admissions? Will there be more demand next year as compared to this year? Uh, short answer is we don't know much. Okay,
Mhm.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest because there are a lot of factors that are going to play into picture. A lot of people are going to not apply this year, try to apply next year. I agree, but then there can also be other factors where people have taken a pause on their admission process. So it is the situation is very dynamic. We cannot comment much about what's going to happen in 2020. Commenting for 2021 will be a very long shot. So I believe even Part shares the same opinion. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it is a little dicey right now, but what I feel is try applying. We never know what is going to happen. But one thing that I feel is right now there's a lot of problem with recession. But 1 year from now, the job market will in general revive, and I feel the situation will be normal again. But like it doesn't hurt in applying, you can, the thing that you can do is you can probably defer the admission to 2022 if you get an admit,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
if you feel that time it's not the situation is not good, you can obviously defer. That's not a big problem. Yeah, the next question is by Ishan. Lovely profile picture. I am planning to build a career in investment banking. That's good. And PE, okay. Hopefully work on Wall Street. That's great, man. What is your view on me getting MSNCS with specialization of quantitative modeling after my BE? Well, that's pretty easy. I mean, you're not doing something completely different, not a big problem. There are a few schools that provide quantitative modeling, as far as I know, as a specialization. Just search for them, just apply to them. That's not a big problem. I mean, there's no fixed path here. You can. I've told you, I have a few friends who are doing computer science and music, the processing of music in computer science. So there you can do whatever you want. Don't worry. Investment banking, you're pretty safe there. One thing I believe, I have a friend who's into investment banking. uh, he completed his CFA level 1. CFA is an exam that happens everywhere. So CFA level 1, he completed that and came here, and that helped them out for jobs. So just look into that. But yeah, it's very much possible. Just yeah. We'll take the next question. Okay, this question is for me. Hi Jay. Uh, for studying independently, what were your trusted resources? My trusted resources was my research. I asked a lot of people what should I study, and studied thoda from everywhere. I did everything little from everywhere. Okay. My trusted resources were FireLB, as Parth mentioned. I used what else did I use? Um, there. I mean, I got a lot of material. There was this ETS. Yes, ETS official books. That's what I used. ETS is the is what do you say?
Education testing services,
Yeah,
the
the institute that gives you the GRE exam. So
hmm.
they have their own official material also. That's actually very helpful too. I use these two things, and yeah, I could do it on my own. So yeah, we'll take up the next question. The next question is, in your opinion, whose opinion? You didn't mention that. I'm not going to answer.
Hmm.
I'm kidding. In your opinion, how effective is an online semester if university offers one? Um, okay, in my opinion, at least, I can say for a fact that I haven't seen much difference yet. Like some people do appreciate the in-person lectures. I completely get that. But in my personal opinion, I didn't face any difference. I got a lot of more assignments because of an online semester, but apart from that, I didn't face any problems. Parth, I believe you would like to add to that question.
Yeah, yeah. So according to me, it's not as effective because I
Yeah.
don't know how this second half of the semester went. I was really lethargic and not interested in studying,
Okay.
and that is when I'm in the same time zone and where I've spent like half a semester doing that course. I think it will be a very different experience for someone who is in India, who is basically in a different time zone, who is not yet used to the environment of a class in the US. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that you won't learn, but if you can, and actually this is for, if it is for fall 2021, then obviously I think this won't be an issue. But if it's for fall 2020, and if you can come to the US, maybe start your MS a little later, please do it, because according to me, it's more beneficial to be in a classroom in front of the professor rather than doing it through a screen. And the other factor is now that we are not very sure of, you have to work with the college and figure it out. Uh, that is, if there is like a condition that you have to be enrolled full time for 9 months before you can do an internship.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, that matters. Yeah,
I don't know if that condition applies. I think the law is you have to be enrolled full time. It
yeah,
doesn't say in the US or outside the US. So
but don't quote on
work with, yeah,
that.
work with the college. Ask them, if you did the semester online, then will you be able to do an internship in the summer?
Okay. Yeah, this I had completely forgotten about this. Before we take the next question, I had completely forgotten about the in-person experience that you'll be missing out. One of the reasons you're coming to university in the US and not in India for masters is the in-person experience that you get in a US universities. There are a lot of extra things that you do apart from just going to classes. If it's an online semester, you'll be missing out on that experience. uh, the whole idea of coming out of your bubble will be lost. So yeah, in that way it's not that effective. Yeah, then we'll take up the next question by Shivani. Yeah, could you tell me more about test as exam that they conduct? Also, could you tell me more about their placement policies? um,
This is in relation to the Germany question that I think she
yeah,
asked.
yeah, yeah. Okay, as far as I know, um, there are levels of German language that you need to complete before you can actually even plan to apply for German universities. Uh, I believe you have to complete two levels of German exam, but I'm not sure on that. If you need more information, just hit me up via ITSA or something. I'll send you the links for people who are in Germany and doing yeah, in German universities. That can help you out better. We'll take up the next question. Uh, so the next question, okay, is okay. Wait, there was a comment. I'll just read out the comment quickly. Will the current situation leading to loss of jobs, seats of students studying abroad affect the students applying later? We have no idea. We don't have much idea about it. The next question, Parth, can you take that?
There is a practice test which is free of cost on ETS portal. I think you get that after you register for
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
your
You,
GRE
you do not
exam.
get it for free. Like it's free with your exam. Once you book the exam, you get two practice tests free from ETS. Princeton University, I believe it's not Princeton University. You're saying the
Princeton review or some, I
yeah,
don't know,
that's the
something.
Princeton Institute. Problem with that is it's not officially free. It's we Indians are using some code that makes it free for us, but it's not free. Okay, so officially you're paying. We cannot promote it as such. Manhattan Prep has
Uh,
Manhattan Prep has one paper free, and yeah, it is similar to the GRE format. Yeah, Parth.
one thing to keep in mind is after the GRE and after the TOEFL, you have an exam to keep the score or discard the score. And I didn't know this initially when I first gave that mock exam.
Yeah.
So please keep the score. I mean, you can get the decision reversed by emailing them, but you don't want to get in that situation. It's a very odd question to ask if you want to keep the score or not. But I think it is for people who don't want it on record if they performed badly. And the problem with that question is it comes before you see how you did on the exam. So for GRE, you actually see how you did in the quantitative and the verbal section after the exam ends. The AWS scores comes 2 weeks afterwards, but you get the like the quants and verbal score after the exam ends. So they will ask you if you want to keep this score, select yes, and then you will be able to see your scores for the exam. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, we'll take up the next question. Yeah, Shivani again. For universities in Germany, they conduct test as exam. Yeah. Could you tell me more about how to prepare for it? Any books that I can refer? Again, I just message me up on Instagram or something. I'll get you in contact with people who are in German universities. I do not want to give out answers that would not be really helpful. So yeah, we'll take up the next question. Hey Saral, Vamajan, amazing profile. Hey Saral, how is Tony Brook? It doesn't have an E. Okay. Yeah. How is Tony Brook for a course? Asking for a friend. It has a wonderful course actually. Like it's I there are a lot of reasons why I selected Stony Brook. First of all, it being a state university. Second of all, for a computer science and a physics program, they have a really good institute for research. That was the reason why I selected, and it is pretty as hell, man. Like it's so pretty. That's the reason I selected Stony Brook as my go-to. Yeah. Um, Next question is by Rohit Pai. How important is the research that you are doing in the 4 years of engineering? What kind of research is expected while you're applying for research-oriented CS master's program? Um, I did okay. So yeah, I can give you some anecdotes. I did research in engineering, and it helped me out in the sense that I was planning to do research even in masters, so it aligned with the same research, so it helped it out. Otherwise, as Parth had previously also mentioned, research does not matter as much. If you don't apply for a research non-thesis options of masters, it's not going to affect that much. If you're planning to continue research and pursue research as a career option, then yes, these 4 years of engineering, you're expected to do research. kind of research again is your choice, man. Or the field that interests you. Research is not something which you can just pick up and keep doing it. You need to be really passionate to get into what you're doing. You should, I mean, you should love what you're doing. Yeah.
And the thing is, research, maybe if it's not a very deep research, but if you do something superficial, maybe like make a small paper that is, that you feel you notice something in one of it. See, the research papers that we publish are based on the projects that we do. Now, the only thing is like the difference between a normal project and a research oriented project is you document correctly whatever you did. So if you have something where you have concrete results, then you can convert that into a research paper and publish it. I mean, there's no one stopping you, and you don't need your college's help for it. You can
Yeah,
publish it on your own
yeah,
also.
I completely
You,
agree with that.
yeah, I mean, you don't have to co-author it with a professor. The only service they're providing you is the Turnitin, but you can pay for it yourself. It's not that. I don't think it's that expensive to use a plagiarism software.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, that's agreed.
maybe if you have a project that you did in your second year or third year where you actually generated some sort of results where you could, a research paper is basically a very well written documentation of the experiment that you conducted. And if you have a already working project, then you can, this is more like this will help people who are doing data science, because in data science you actually have like accuracies, the parameters that you use, the way you clean the data, things like this you can talk about in your research paper. So if you have done something related to ML or data science, you can convert that into a research paper and try to get it published. It's not that hard. And a lot of conferences do accept papers in India. I mean, obviously not the top ones, but you have like an entry level paper you can make and publish. It's not that big a deal.
That makes sense. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. We'll take up the next question. What all universities did you get into? Parth, you can begin.
Hmm.
What all
Oh my
universities
god,
did you get into?
1 minute. Georgia Tech, UC Irvine, USC, NCSU. I had admit from Stony Brook also.
Okay.
What else was there? I had applied to what is it called? University of Texas at Dallas. I had admit from there, and Northeastern.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I had applied to Stony Brook. I mean, the admits Stony Brook, NYU, and Arizona State University. I had not applied for. I think Arizona State University was my only safe university. I had applied into seven ambitious and one safe. That's it. So yeah, that was my breakdown. We'll take up the next question. I mean, that should not really be
Uh,
that should not really help you out. That's completely on you, which universities you want to apply in. Yeah. Uh,
One more factor is like I had applied to way more colleges. Like I applied to 15 colleges, and like Sarah had applied to 7.
oh yeah,
So I think a safe number is like 10 colleges maybe. I
yeah.
think that
There's
should be a good number.
just in between. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, I mean, it completely depends on you. Like I just wanted to apply for ambitious universities, so I just picked out the six top ambitious ones that I felt I liked the program, so I applied for that. Yeah, that's cool. We'll have the next question. Divija, okay. The next question is, from which year of BTech starting studying for GRE is recommended? Could you repeat which year giving GRE attempt is safe? Um, Again, you can start from whenever you want. The recommended time frame is third year. The reason it's recommended is important. It is recommended because that gives you time for multiple attempts. Say, for example, in your first GRE, you couldn't get as much score. You get a lot of time to appear for it again. But as you know, my timeline, I applied in fourth year. I gave GRE in fourth year, so you can do that as well. Recommended, yes. Path's timeline is completely recommended. Third year, you prepare for GRE. You give a GRE in your third year. Yeah. I Would you agree, Path?
Yeah. So I started in the final semester of my third year,
Yeah.
or no, like the December of my third year, I started going for my classes, and in the final semester, I prepared for it. And in
Yeah.
July, I gave the exam before my final year, before the fourth semester started.
Yeah.
Now
That gives him more time for even a second attempt if needed. So yeah.
now the thing is, the things have changed in our college. So now you have the 6 month internship, and like things have moved a little bit up and down. So
Let's not talk about our specific college. In
yeah.
yeah, that's
So
third year.
basically, work with your schedule
Yeah,
and
work with your
figure
schedule.
out figure
Uh,
out how you get time.
Try to keep a buffer of 4 months so that you can apply again if you want.
Mm,
Yeah,
true.
let's take the next question. Rahul says, can you talk about changing your branch from B electronics to MSCS? It's a very common thing, man. A lot of people do it, and I don't. That shouldn't be a problem at all. Like, just get
Hmm.
some projects in computer science branch, and yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. In the US, the system is way more flexible. You aren't tied down by your branch per se. Uh, so yeah, don't worry about that. That can
Um,
easily solved. Yeah.
like I know a guy who came from doing civil engineering and is now in MSCS with me, so
Yeah,
that's
it's
completely fine.
yeah, it's fine. Of course, it's preferred if you have some projects in
Yeah,
computer.
obviously, like yeah, otherwise what you will talk about. So
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
don't write about your electronics background for MSCS
Oh yeah,
application.
yeah, that makes sense. Talk about why you want to do CS, why you want to change from electronics. Okay, and be candid about your reason. You don't have to be very. You don't have to give always a scientific reason that, oh, electronics helped me with this and computer science is going to help me with that. It's cool. Just tell us why you want to do computer science. We'll take up the next question. What kind of projects had y'all done during engineering? Parth, you can begin with that question. So yeah, what?
So my projects were mostly independent projects. So like I said, my profile was more towards iOS development, and I had created our college's Udan app for an Udan, and then I had created an app for TOEFL speaking. So that's what I talked about, and then a little bit about my internships. Other than that, what else? No, yeah, that was pretty much what I had focused on in my statement of purpose. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I should actually check out Parth's TOEFL speaking app. I believe that's on iOS.
Yeah.
That's a project you can check out. A wonderful project. Yeah, I my final year project was based on convolutional LSTMs, and as I've mentioned even previously, I wanted to do quantum machine learning, so that tied up well in my story. So yeah, you can obviously, yeah. These were the projects that we did. There is a comment which says, "Okay, thank you. Could you give me your Instagram username so I can further communicate with you?" Sure, we can help you out with that. But for now, follow ITSA SPID. Huge shout out to them. Follow them. You can easily find our handles with them. So yeah, that shouldn't
Yeah,
be a.
they've tagged us, yeah,
They have tagged us. Okay, yeah, they have tagged us.
in
Uh,
the post.
yeah, that makes sense. So just follow ITSA SPIT, man. Follow both of us. That's cool. Yeah. We'll take up the next question. Other than academics and projects, do extracurricular activities, sports, participating in different competitions also increase your chances of getting into a good university? Parth mentioned put your best foot forward. That's what is very important. Would you like to add to that, Parth?
Yeah, I mean, sure, if you have space on your resume and if it's not getting too big and not looking too messy, then add a section about positions of responsibilities. Like I had put it, but I don't know how effective it was. Other thing is like one more important point is the resume can be 2 pages long, but if you are making it 2 pages long, then make sure that you fill both the pages. Don't make it 1.5 page long. If it's going to 1.5 pages, then try to cut it down to one or increase it to two with sensible content. It's up to you, but
Uh,
the resume should be pleasing to the eye.
yeah, about the resume, like check out what your university is asking for. I believe some
Yeah.
universities have a strict hard word limit. Some universities don't have a word limit, so do focus on that as well. Yeah, sports. I did a lot of extracurricular activities. I did not mention them at all. Okay, reason being, I had a lot of curricular activities which I could focus on. Show what you actually want the admission committee to see. Okay, they should see if you fit for the program. If you are, then yeah, even your extracurriculars can help. Let's
And
go.
the thing is,
So sorry.
one of the thing is like I have seen my friend do it is he used to customize his resume with the college name and the program name at the top. You can use that idea. One more idea I could like I had tried for some colleges is I made the accents of my resume match the college's logo. I mean, just give it a personal touch, make it seem that you have tailored it for them. It always helps.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. We'll take up the next question by Rucha. Love the name, by the way. Can you please elaborate on type of internships to focus on during BTech? For example, a research intern based with a professor or a company internship.
Hmm.
You've mentioned this. If you're planning to get into a non-thesis program where you don't want to do research, why would you want to do a research in your undergrad? So yeah, get into a research with a company. If you're planning to do research as me, it would be wonderful if you do research with a professor. I can tell you things about my research-based internships. There are a few open positions with good schools in India, like IIT Bombay and IIT Delhi. You don't need to be a part of IIT to get those internships. Just have to get in touch with the professors; they'll help you out. That's how you get a research-based internship. Company-based internship, I believe Parth and I were privileged to work together even there.
We were in the same company.
Yeah, we were working in the same company, Golden Source. But yeah, it that helps you out in a different way as well. We got a very
Um,
different experience. Yeah, go ahead, Parth.
so the thing is, in a research-based internship, your application might sound a little bit more genuine if you are going to say that I want to research. So that's like a benefit. And at the same time, a research-based internship is still an internship. You're still learning coding. You'll still be learning new things. So just instead of looking at it as a research-based internship and as a professional internship, look at it as I'm going to learn XYZ in this and I'm going to learn XYZ in that, and then weigh the two things and decide which skill you prefer learning. I mean, it's
Yeah,
all about bettering yourself rather than doing it for someone else. So
yeah,
go where the good experience is.
that makes sense, man. That completely makes sense. Yeah, I think with that we'll wrap up the session. It's already been 2 hours. If you're still listening, good job, guys. Thanks a lot, Renuka, ma'am. That's
Thank you, ma'am.
completely an amazing display. We completely appreciate it. Yeah. If you're still here for 2 hours, congratulations. You got a lot of information, hopefully, and we didn't bore you out completely. And yeah, we'll try to keep more sessions. We can keep more specific sessions. You guys can ask ITSA for more sessions. Yeah, I guess that's a wrap from our side. Parth, would you like to add some?
No,
Yeah,
yep. Thanks a lot for like
yeah.
spending your
Thanks
time with
everyone.
us.
Yeah, I can see a lot of thank you. Thank you guys. It was wonderful talking to you. Again, enjoy your Saturday, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
stay safe. So yeah, we'll end the
Stay
session.
indoors.
Yeah, stay indoors. That's very important. Yeah, staying indoors is very important. Yeah, we'll end the session with that. Thanks a lot for joining. We will talk to you guys later. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.